5 or 6 copies if you want afterward. But there's a handout as well. It's personal, you know, because I've walked this before, you know, but then it's also political because I've been, someone in the other room told me that I must be a connector. You know, she said, you must be a connector because, you know, you kind of bring people together, and I've seen that already. And so that's kind of been a part of my story. So I've taken my relationships with other women who I believe are leaders and very passionate about whatever it is that they're doing. And I've kind of put together a theory that is micro level in that I wrote here. It's about individual responsibility. And it is also a group level theory because it's about our ability to engage in teamwork as women. Now, I believe this theory can work for men too, but I don't care about that right now. You know, I'm writing this for us, and men can take it and use it if they want to. But what I do is I talk about 2 concepts. You have contest evasion, and that's my own personal idea. You know, I don't have to compete with you, you know. I can figure out where I'm going. I can create goals, you know. I don't have to have a headache because I can't do what you do. And we have a big problem in society with this measuring stick where I'm going to base my happiness on the idea that I haven't gone where you've gone. And so then there's anger and there's frustration. And so that micro-level theory of contest evasion I introduced to you as my own theory. And I have a step-by-step process to help us to follow that. And the reason I have that is because, you know, again, as just was introduced, you know, before, one of the largest problems that we have as women is, you know, how do we actually become a leader? You know, how do you actually become someone who can set a goal and put yourself first, but not exclude other people, you know, because I'm a mom, you know. I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I'm a cousin, I'm a best friend, you know. I'm a best friend to you. I come in here and I'm ready, you know, I'm ready to help with, you know. So I know that intrinsically, you know, in me, that's a part of who I am. And I'm not going to tell any woman in here or anybody, you know, who has those characteristics that you should ignore that because that's naturally part of who you are. But I am going to ask you to think of yourself first. I didn't say do for yourself first, but just think. Now, transformational leadership, most of you have heard of this before. This is a really well-known model for women, you know, that most women, a lot of women are transformational leaders, some men as well. But it's a leadership model that people are saying is one that works really, really well for women. So I take that model and I add unique characteristics, techniques that women can use as transformational leaders to help the contest evading individual, right? So I'm going to help you become a leader and then transform as a transformational leader. But if you're already a leader, like the people in here, you can use the transformational leadership model, the techniques that I come up with to help you engage people, and they work together, you know. So again, this is homemade, you know, and I hope that you enjoy it, and I hope that it is helpful. So the significance of my paper is that, you know, I believe that we need to have a self-management strategy, and that we can use this strategy with anything. We can use it at work, we can use it at home, and there's so many different philosophies and theories on how to set goals. You know, I'm not saying I'm the first one to come up with this, but this is feminist. This is for us. This is our process that we can use. And now also, it's about performance, because to me, you know, I have friends and they pray all the time, you know, and then I have friends who pray all the time and then they act. I believe that, you know, we can believe in something, whether it's through prayer, through charisma, or whatever. But if we just sit down and we don't do anything, oh, man, that's a problem that we have. So we have this energy and we want to do something, but we don't do it. So we need a process to help us to do that. And then, again, the transformational leadership already existing, but I want to institute a couple techniques. So I took the time to create a handout for you so that you can just kind of listen and be with me right now. And then you can take that later and look at all that stuff and try to use it. You know, I don't have a study yet, but if you want to participate in a study, if you want to take this stuff and use it, we've used it all our time here. Our hotel room almost caught fire last night. And we used the contest evasion strategy to find us another room at midnight. So it works. All right. So again, we want to let go of competition, but we want to promote self-interest. We want to be goal setters, but we want to also overcome competition envy because they're haters. You all know that word, right? It doesn't matter what your ethnic group is. You know what a hater is, right? Someone who doesn't want you to win. Someone who's going to create brick walls that are invisible so that when you're walking, you bump and you hit your head on the wall. So we want to figure out how to work around these walls and these people. And I think you can do it in here. Be positive, have a goal, think about your resources, and it's not always going to work. But, at least there's a process. And transformational leadership, it's all about being a person who can empower somebody else. And that's why I say that this is about liberation. It's about taking your skills and your experiences, sharing those with somebody else so that, they can have a better day tomorrow. So here's what it's all about. You've got contest evasion, right? A part of that is accepting difference. You are not the same. You're not the same. Women are not men, and men are not women. Okay? So I'm not going to sit here and say I can do what a man does, or a man can do what I do. I'm going to say I'm Shaquita Howard Bostic, and I have a set of skills that apply to me because my mom taught me something, or my dad taught me something, or I read this somewhere, or I had this experience, and these experiences made me who I am as a person. I'm not denying that I am African American or that I am a woman, but I am saying that I am an individual who is very different from this other person. And I have to get to know who I am in order to figure out what I can do. I also have to understand my history, and I have to understand the people around me, but I am a unique individual and I love myself. And I have to love myself before somebody else can love me, or before I can understand what somebody else is going through. I have to have peace within myself. I have to be interested in who I am and what I have to offer as an individual. If I'm basing my success on this other person and how much they love themselves, well, I might hit a brick wall because I don't understand what their goals and their strategies are. I don't know what's inside their head because I'm trying to be another person. It's a shame to live your life every day trying to be her or him or your dad or your mom. They're great. They give us examples. We can use that for our goal setting plan. So together with the transformational leaders who can help us take that to another level. That's what it was all about. Having a group of women who can center their ideas and know who they are and become interested in their potential. Wanting to do because you believe in yourself and you look at what you have in front of you, right? And then having a person who is there to help guide you through that process, if possible. We all don't have someone to guide us through the process. That's why we need contest evasion. Because everybody doesn't have a father who has, something, and I didn't. My father passed away in November. And I'll tell you, when we start talking about positivity, right, that's a part of the contest evasion model. My father was my best teacher because he taught me what not to do. He taught me all the things that I should not do. And I had to take that with me and grow. I couldn't hide under the table, and maybe follow his path. I had to use those lessons to grow and to improve, who I am. And so we still can be positive even with the worst situation. We can find the good. We can reverse the negative and turn that into something that is magnificent. If we want to, we can change the way we see it. Switch the view of whatever that situation is and take what you can from it and use it to grow. But sometimes we sulk. And then we can't do that. And that's why being self-interested first and then understanding our emotions and understanding these conditions, understanding the position, that's very important for women. We have so many different things going on all at one time. The first shift, second shift, the invisible third shift. That's the shift for professors. When you have to stay up until 1 o'clock in the morning writing or grading papers after the kids have gone to bed and you're cross-eyed. You see trees on the laptop in the third shift, So anyway, I digress. This is the contest evasion model, and you have that in your handout. First thing we need to do is we need to set performance objectives based upon our self-interests. What do we want? How is this going to help me? Why is this important for me? Do I have a goal? And if I'm trying to do this, and this has nothing to do with my goal, why am I doing it? Why am I investing my time in this nonsense if it has nothing to do with my overall goal? Sometimes we don't do that. Somebody's falling down the stairs and I need to quit my job and run over here and get them. Maybe we need to identify the resources and find out how we can help out and what we can do without quitting our jobs to do it. But I'm just saying, just think about yourself, just a little bit. Poquito. On that means. Okay, next, positive outlook. Weigh our emotions. I'm always telling women, don't cry because they're going to think you're weak. I don't want to deal with this stressful situation. I said, lots of my friends just running away from stress. Here it is. Oh, I see stressor right there. So I'm going to go, this way. Well, why don't you assess why you're feeling this way about this situation and see if there's a positive outlook and a way to get through that wall. Why don't you evaluate that? Why don't you think about it? Because it's too much hard work to think, but if you take the time to think about it, maybe you'll correct something, Maybe you'll make a way, out of no way. That's what we do, right? We make a way out of no way. It's okay. We're good for that. Resource list. Sometimes we say, well, I have this objective and I want to do it, so I'm going to buy those laptops, right? I'm going to buy those laptops. But did you evaluate the resources? Not just the money that you have, the people who are around you. Are there haters, right? Are there people around you who are not going to help you? What are the costs? What are the benefits? Who are you dealing with here? You just buy a laptop, right? Don't buy the resources first. Evaluate the people you have around you, the support, the items that are available for you to succeed, and figure out a way to get more. Don't just say, I have this mouse. Get 3 mouses. You know what I mean? Figure out how you can identify new resources by aligning different people together. That's what the best workers do, right? Time is money, right? Identify the workers, right? Don't run in one place trying to do everything. Figure out what resources you have and try to multiply them. Don't say, I have $20. It costs $20 to get in. I'm good. Figure out how to maximize your resources so that when you lose $10 of the $20, you're not standing at the door looking silly trying to figure out what's next. I'm just saying, identify all of the resources that you think may be available before you do it. Before you do it. If you identify it before you do it, you may stop yourself from tripping and falling because you know what you have here and you're thinking positively about it and you have good energy. And also with the positive outlook, get those negative energy people out of your way. Get them out of there. Get them away because they're going to drain your energy. They take everything away from you. They suck everything out of us, and they don't want you to win even though they're saying they want you to win. If you want me to win, why are you so negative? Why are you draining my energy? And you can't always eliminate them, but you can avoid them. And that's a part of competition evasion, It's not just competition. It's about, finding a way to get out of my way so that I can clear my view and try to be positive. Auntie keeps calling with her negativity all day. Silence the phone. And answer that call when you're ready, because negative people can stop you from growing. We got to deal with them. But there's some, about 1/3 of them. We can do it. You can do it. You're not mean. You're not a jerk. You're not negative. You're not the bad guy. I'm sorry, I can't interact right now. Have a wonderful day. All right. Achievable outcomes. Now, what exactly are you going to do? Now, we see something that we wanted, we're all excited, I'm going to save the world. And you go out and you've got $25 to save the world, but you don't have a plan. Because this is what we all do. I'm sure I'm talking to everybody. I know it. I know that we've all tried to do something and we've skipped one of these things, or we kind of, half-stepped one of these things, here, trying to get where we have to go, okay? So, again, what is the economic cost? How am I going to develop personally? This is back to you again. This is back to you again. How is this going to enrich me? You can constantly think about that every single day. every step that I take, this interaction that I make with this person, how is this going to help me to become a better person? And you'll see as the transformational leader steps in that if you're constantly thinking about how you'll become better, you're constantly making other people better. Through your charisma, people see that and they grow from you, they learn from you, they're watching you. I'm sure from the people who spoke already, I know somebody's watching you. They're watching you. They're watching you every day. So everything you do, it counts and it matters, right? So then desired rewards. What will I get from this? Now, I know this sounds so selfish. It probably sounds so selfish. But we're always giving and giving and giving. And this is just a thought process. This is a preparation process. So you can think about what you can get from it on paper. You have to tell anybody, But you can think critically about this and adjust your plan accordingly. If I interact this way with this particular person, that may get me in trouble. So I think it's a time and a place for every conversation, we want to do things that are radical, but we have to think critically about our moves and be strategic about how that action is going to impact our progress. And everybody does it. Everybody does it. But some people are still, radical when they do it. They say, oh, well, such and such doesn't have any power, so I'll step on her, I'll step on that person. It's sometimes strategic and it's sometimes inherent. But I believe that if you follow the contest evasion model, if you do it a couple times, it'll become natural. And when you start making decisions, you'll weigh out these different things and you'll think about it before you make a choice. And I like to do this all the time. Like I said, just last night, we were like, okay, what are the performance objectives here? What do we need to do? The hotel's going to burn down. We need to get all of our things out of the room. We need to collect things. Who do we need to call? Who's around here? Who has a telephone? Who can make calls? Who can make, international calls for free? We're thinking about, resources. We're thinking about outcomes. If we stay here, how much money are we going to lose? How many pounds? How does that translate to American dollars? 79 pounds, that's a lot of American money. So we're thinking through the situation, and as we thought through the situation, we continued to grow. And we had fun, and it had to be funny. Sometimes the worst situations, they just have to be funny. What can you do? The people said, the Americans are leaving. I said, yeah, we're using this contest evasion model, We're not going to sit up here and burn up. We smell, water's dripping down from the ceiling. The wires are burning. We can't stay here and wait for this lady to come back. So anyway, very interesting. But leading into transformational leadership now, remember, everybody in here could be a transformational leader. Everybody in here right now. Who's our high school student? No? Another? Okay. Transformational leader, right? In high school. That's awesome. Undergraduate students in here, graduate students in here, you can do it. If you know much about transformational leadership, I would be wasting your time by explaining everything, but I'll just highlight the italicized words, right? We're going to try to connect goal setting with collective identity. So we want to do lots of things, but as a transformational leader, we have to help people to understand how their unique vision connects with the rest of the world. Because sometimes I've had people who were fabulous leaders in the workplace, but they were on a little boat swimming far, far away from everybody else, So their leadership qualities and their efforts didn't really matter because they didn't know how to connect their passion with what was going on. We can be radical all day long, but if we can't connect it to the current institution, we're just going to be an idiot on a boat, sailing far, far away from everybody else, alienating ourselves from the process, and not able to really create change. So transformational leaders have to be able to help their followers see how what they're doing can relate to the holistic picture. But we don't have to be transformational leaders in every sense in the whole wide world. Some of us, we might be bureaucratic, transformational leaders. That means that you can help people make decisions. You're a decision maker. So you may be able to help out in that way. We might be a collegial, right, transformational leader. From that sense, you might be a consensus maker. So you can help people bring ideas together, right? You can take this person who is, a Democrat and this person who is a Republican and find a way to get them to work together. Some of you have the ability to do that. Somehow you can find a way to bring radical people together in a room peacefully. And if you know how to do that today, you can be a transformational leader because, again, as said before, it's about understanding what your assets are. Before you become a leader, you have to know what your particular abilities are, right? You have to be empowered. But if you can look here and say, look, I can do that. I have the ability to do that. I have the personality that will allow me to do that. Then you can capitalize on it, because maybe you didn't know. Maybe you didn't know that you are a dynamic political leader. By political, I mean that you can negotiate things. You're a great negotiator. Oh boy, was I able to get those rooms at a good price last night. You know, I used every technique that I can pull out my pocket to try to get us a room for 4 people for less than 100 pounds an evening. But if you have that skill, then you might be that type of transformational leader. You see, when they talk about transformational leadership in the literature, they don't tell you how to do it. They just say, oh, these women are so transformational because they have charisma, you know, and they're able to bring people together. They're able to create a space that is not filled with contention. They're able to lift people from the bottom up and create a new world. Well, how the heck do you do that? How do you do that? So I established these techniques, which are not written anywhere about transformational leadership, and I placed them into the context of being a transformational leader. So, again, symbolic. Now, that is the charisma. Some of us are leaders for certain people, and we don't even know it. Our behavior, the process that we take to do something, our demeanor, it can be just the way we respond to certain situations. It is so symbolic that you don't even need a conversation to show that you have that type of power. And when women move up in academia, they showcase that symbolic nature. You're an example. You're a role model. So everything that we do, it counts. So what I've done with this study, and you have this, so we don't have to go over this, but it makes sense. This is a sample contest evasion model, okay? And so it shows you, from the chart that we had on contest evasion, it shows you what you might need to do in the steps. And it shows you different styles of transformational, the different techniques of transformational leadership. And it shows you what you can do to help people in these different stages of the process if you are a dynamic transformational leader. So here are some ways that all of us can leave here and try to be, more helpful. And even if we don't do these things, do it today. Start doing it now. Look at this model and see how you can help other people grow by using your skills, because that's what empowerment is all about, That's what it's all about. And that's how you're able to help people across race, class, and gender. That's how feminism becomes something about unity and about working together. It was stated earlier that, one person that was extremely left-wing or liberal could align with someone who was conservative, and then we're able to identify our skills to help each other. Okay? Thank you.
Still got 9 minutes for questions and comments.
Sure. Yes. Okay.
What caused you to actually, in your own mind, see the correlation between the transformational leadership and your thoughts around contest? What happened? Did something happen?
Yeah, something happened. Something happened. This conference came up. I said, I want to go to this conference. So I want to create something about leadership. And I already had my contest evasion model. And I said, I know that there's a relationship between becoming a person who can grow and who can move, and then having people transforming and becoming somebody that can help other people once you get there. Because I had to go through the contest evasion model to move out of the urban community that I lived in and to become a professor. I had to use that, but then I need to give back something. These people have given to me, like, I have to do something. So I kept saying, well, what do I do? Well, what does Lisa do? What does Kim do? What do all these people do? And then I started looking up leadership models. I said, oh, transformational leadership. And I kept Googling it and Googling, what the heck is it? What is transformational leadership? Nobody really said what somebody does to be a transformational leader. So I said, well, I'm going to develop a model. And I did. Yes, ma'am?
I think your paper resonates with me because of what you achieve when, with leadership. And sometimes you can lead by disrupting, and I don't want to preempt my own paper, but women particularly cause disruptions, not just for the sake of it, but just for the simple reason that they want to effect change. And that's what resonates with me. I kind of like, how you put it. It's all about bringing transformation, something that renews the face of the world, the earth. That's what I mean. And I like it.
Thank you so much. Yes.
So when you plan to test the model out?
My life is a test of this model, but I will do something. I've been thinking about how I could actually test the model. It probably would have to be some type of similar experience because there has to be strong similarities, whatever population it is. It could be. I'm thinking about, and I know it's kind of crazy, but I'm thinking about I'm thinking about 5th grade students. I'm thinking about babies. I want to teach babies the contest evasion model. I have a young daughter, she's 7 now, but I watch them grow, and I watch her little buddies who are a little older than her, and I think that from the ground up, children need to understand a process for making decisions, and if they understand this, then they might be able to master this model of, empowering themselves and others, and it probably would be optimal for me to use adults, but since I'm a Girl Scout troop leader, I have access to this group, and I really believe that this model can work for anybody who can host intrinsic motivation, and I think the challenges with this model will be people who can't be self-starters, people who can't get past the brick wall, people who can't turn that positive situation, that negative situation into a positive situation, and I think I'm going to have to work on this a little bit. I think I'm going to have to come up with some techniques or strategies and think critically about a lot of things because it's not a perfect model, but it's an idea and it's a theory, and I think it works. I don't think it will guarantee that you win, but I think it will guarantee that you assess the situation and make the choice that might be most effective in your current situation. And for some of us, that's all we need. That's all we need to grow. We don't need to run, but we need to progress. And I think lots of us want instant gratification. We want it to happen right now. And we see it happening for somebody else right now, and we're furious because it's happening for somebody else right now, and we get angry. We get angry. And so I think that it can work. I think it can work, and I think it has worked. And I think it'll be useful. I think it's at least something that everybody in the room can think about for a few minutes and see if you can apply it. Yeah?
I think what you're saying about not telling people how to do that is very real. I mean, that's the argument we used when we developed this leadership curriculum for school librarians. It's like, literature is out there and this is what it is, but how do you do it? What are some concrete steps and activities?
I think this could be, helpful for your model as well. I think, especially, if you have leaders who are trying to bring people together collectively, and you can do that by bringing people together collectively and helping them to identify their own skills. And once you bring those dominant skills together and you understand how to mobilize the people, I believe that can be very effective for your model.
I think that was really great. And I think it'd be really good, though, to use it as a model for school-based education and for maybe for teacher education, and to unite possibly with the, I don't know whether you know the US feminist teacher blogger, Ileana Jimenez. She's based in New York.
I will.
But she has she has this great blog, and she goes around the country as well, talking about these kinds of issues. And this would really map onto her strategy, because I think you need to get people young to get them to feel that positive.
Yes.
That's great.
Any more comments? We don't have a ding-a-ling yet.
The one thing
that comes to mind is the bureaucratic institutions that lack the ability as a whole, as a collective, to have vision. Because you're talking about vision. What's your best case suggestion for those kinds of, individuals in those kinds of organizations that are so closed-minded? This is the way it's been historically, we're never going to change. We've got a system, it works. They think it works anyway, I should say.
I mean, when I've interacted with people who, always want to stay the same, I figure out how my plan aligns directly with what they want to do. And I make it change without them even knowing change is happening. Because they just have to believe that it's their idea. That's all they have to believe, is that they own it and that it is the same thing. And everything that we're doing in some type of way has to connect with history. Because we can't go out there and say, let's, do this thing here without aligning it with everything else that's going on, I tell my students, you can't get your egg back. I tell them we make fake brownies in the class, add all the stuff in, and then we put it in the oven, and then it rings, and somebody says, can I have my egg back? And I say, well, there's already a chemical reaction. You can't have your egg back. Once something happens, you can't erase it. So to create change, I think you need to piggyback on history and get the buy-in somehow by connecting it to the reality that people see. We want to be really radical, and I think that's great. That's fabulous. But we have to start somewhere, and we have to connect. Otherwise, we run miles and miles away, and nobody's ever listening to us. And then we never have a voice. We come together with the people we respect and learn what difference is and try to make connections with people. And then I believe we can get further without as many trips and head bumps, But, we can't be too selfish. We can't be too self-interested, I can't believe this thing is it broken?
Perfect.
Okay.